What is going on, Pats Nation? It's your boy Colby, also known as Patriots Global, back here with another post-game recap for the New England Patriots. This one, Week 13, at home, throwback jerseys against the Indianapolis Colts, and the New England Patriots they fall short. They fall just slightly short. Another week in which they do so. I mean, everybody wants to talk about how bad we are, how much we suck, and I'm not saying they're wrong, because I'll be the first one to tell you, we are not a good team this year. But how many games have come down to the wire, one possession? I'm not saying we've never gotten blown out this season, but I'm just saying that for the most part, the Patriots haven't gotten killed in a lot of their losses this season. So I'm not here trying to say, hey, there is a bright side, but that is one thing that I'll say is a couple of changes, a couple of moves in the right direction. And the Patriots aren't as bad as their record would say, but this one sucks, man. This one really hurts. The Patriots, 25-24, heartbreaker, roller coaster of emotions. You thought that this was going to be the first game this season that the Patriots put up 30-plus points. You felt pretty good. You knew it was going to come down to the wire, but you felt pretty good about the Patriots' chances coming away with this one as the game went on because they were getting better. This entire game, the Patriots were the better team in every single statistical category. For the most part, they were the better offense in here. But when it mattered the most, offensively, defensively, they weren't able to do it. Continuity football, situational football wasn't there. We have a lot to get into. As always, today's video brought to you by BetUS. We'll talk to you guys a little bit later how you can get an exclusive deal from them. But Rob, before we start breaking this thing down, how you feeling? How you feeling about this game? And what are your thoughts after this loss?
Man, what a heartbreaking way to lose.
Yeah.
Like, that is as if this season couldn't get worse. It just that was just the culmination of how everything just transpired. I don't know. We had the game. We dominated them. There is absolutely no reason, but it's always a game of inches. Penalties. Maybe some clock awareness and just takeaways too. Like, there was an interception that was just really this is what happens for our season.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like we said, in most statistical categories, the Patriots did win. If I go over here real quick, let me scroll down and tell you guys these real quick. So in terms of time of possession, the Patriots dominated 34 minutes and 12 seconds to the Colts 25 minutes and 48 seconds. The Patriots also had more offensive yards total, 422 to the Colts 253. Patriots passing yards, they had more, 222 to the Colts 109. Rushing yards, the Patriots had 200 all-purpose rushing yards in this game to the Colts 144. Patriots had 23 first downs, the Colts had 20. The Patriots had less turnovers. The Colts had 2 turnovers offensively. The Patriots had 1, which we'll get into a little bit later, was not on Maye. The penalties are the only category in which the Patriots lost. That in the red zone. The Patriots were 2 for 6 in the red zone today. So red zone efficiency and penalties were the only 2 categories that the Colts were better than the Patriots today. 7 penalties for New England, 2 penalties for the Colts. Offensively, they were there. The production was there.
Not even just that, man. Look at the first half. The disparity after that was even worse. Time of possession in the first half, Patriots had 1931 to their 1029. Yards, 279 to 108. Passing yards, 155 to 46. Rushing yards, 124 to 62. First downs, 14 to 9. Penalties, we had more, obviously, but that more plays, 37 and 22. Our offense, just our rushing attack alone, obviously it's going to be skewed a little bit because Drake Maye's 41-yard run. We were averaging 18.23 yards per rush attempt. It was just insane, but it happens.
Yeah, I got some more for you too, more statistics here. So the Colts played zone coverage on 22 of 24 dropbacks for Drake Maye in the first half. The 2-man coverage reps, Drake Maye scrambled for 41 yards, and the other one was a 16-yard touchdown to Austin Hooper. So the Patriots offense, Drake Maye, he was dominating, whether it was zone defense, whether it was man defense. He was coming out, arguably putting up the best game of his career, at least one of the best games of his career. I don't know, 2 weeks ago against the Rams is definitely going to give it a run for its money, but this is one of the best performances alone that we've seen from Drake Maye. Also, in the first half, the Patriots had 279 total yards of offense, averaging 7.5 yards per play. Drake Maye had plus 0.39 EPA per play in the first half. So for those who don't know how EPA works, an average EPA is about 0 to 0.1. So Drake Maye putting up 0.39 is well above average. He was balling out. Situational football, complementary football that we've been talking about all season, that we mentioned earlier today, that I said in my watch party, that is the big reason on why the New England Patriots lost. And then lastly, what I'll say too is that the Patriots rushed for 124 yards and threw for 155 yards in the first half alone. That is the first game in which they've rushed for 100 plus yards and thrown for 100 plus yards since the first half, in the first half, since the Jags in 2022. So the Patriots were in a good position to win this game. Offensively, they were dominating. Even defensively, I would say they weren't doing bad. Defensively, I would say it just came down to fundamentals. And we're going to, we'll talk about positions, we'll talk about offense, we'll talk about defense. But before we get into all of that, Rob, I just want to know your thoughts on kind of that final stretch. Because again, we'll break down each player, we'll break down each side of the football like we always do. But I think everybody wants to know what went wrong there at the end. I mean, it looks like you're going to win the game. You have a 7-point lead. Then Anthony Richardson and the Colts, they string together 19 plays. They take over just over 5.5 minutes to do so. And they end up going for the 2-point conversion. They get it. They take the lead by 1 point. Then the Patriots, they have about 12 seconds left, 2 timeouts. Drake Maye tries to hit Hunter Henry in the middle of the field. Hunter Henry doesn't make the catch. They utilize one of their timeouts. Then they go back to Hunter Henry. Quick play, slides, gets to exactly the 50. They take their final timeout. We say, maybe they're just trying to get closer to a Hail Mary. No, they go for a field goal attempt with Joey Sly, who earlier missed from a roughly 25. They give him a 68-yard field goal attempt. That would not have just been his longest, which was about 62.
I don't get that. I don't get the thought process behind that. He doesn't have that type of leg. And being that he missed earlier in the game, that decision didn't make sense to me. I trust Drake Maye's arm more. I'll live with the interception, but that didn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, 68 yards. I was thinking to myself, I'm on the watch party. I was like, there's no way he's going to make this. Like, I like Joey Sly, but there is no way that a guy we got off of
what was he, like 2 yards short?
Something like I saw he was more like a few feet short. Like he was right there. Like he just missed that thing. Like that thing would have been good from like 67, 66, definitely.
Game of inches, man.
A game of inches, like you said. So here's my thing. If it was from, like I said, 65, 67, like okay. But if we're talking about him coming out here and resetting a record for longest field goal ever made in NFL history, I didn't have faith that Joey Sly was going to be able to be that guy. Now, again, like we said, 65, 66, 67 would have been good. Also, the accuracy was perfect, right down Broadway. But he was just short. He didn't have enough juice to get a 68-yard attempt, which honestly, I never expected him to be able to do anyway.
We wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place if we would have put Peppers as a person. Because during that I believe it was on 3rd down where they basically forced the first to 4th down where I believe Anthony Richardson used his legs. Peppers jammed his ass. So I didn't understand why we didn't try to do that when we know that he was basically 50% on the day for passing. Why didn't we try to put Peppers back on the inside so they wouldn't get the 2-point conversion? They had him drop back in coverage. Like that wouldn't have happened in the first place if we would have done that. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, what is the biggest threat in that situation? It is Anthony Richardson's legs, not his arm, because his arm was putrid today. 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. But those 2 touchdowns just so happen to be one in the latter portion of the game and one in the earlier portion.
Yeah, what I'll say too is that on that 2-point conversion that the Colts got in order to take that 1-point lead for the Patriots late into the game rather than going for the extra point, tying it for overtime, they asked Christian Barmore about this in the postgame. And I think it's interesting because I don't know about you, Rob, but I feel like the refereeing in this game was absolute dog water in favor of the Colts. I mean, you had the Austin Hooper helmet-to-helmet blatant call. Didn't say anything about it. You then had tried to call Drake Maye short. You tried to call Drake Maye short of that first down run. Everybody and their mother saw it happen live, and they tried.
That was the biggest joke of them all.
To sabotage him. They tried to say he didn't get it.
The fact that he was like a whole like a yard and a half more past the line to gain, and you're like, wait, what? Gerard Mayo, why are you taking so long to throw that freaking flag? He's clearly clearly a first down, but we've already seen it. This year has just been full of just terrible refereeing, Chiefs. But that's really just what we've been seeing all year.
And the thing that sucks too is though it comes down to these moments. It comes down to the wire, a few feet short of a game-winning field goal, a 1-point game. It comes down to one call like that that's different. If you look back to that Hunter Henry play, the Patriots should have gotten a touchdown there. But after that non-call on Hunter Henry, they go penalty. They back themselves up. They settle for 3. And I'm not saying that they would have 100% done it. It's he says, she says. It's situational. But if they would have called that penalty on helmet to helmet on Hunter Henry, would have been a fresh set of downs. You would have been a yard or two closer to the end zone, would have been placed at the 1. You could have just shoved that thing, and you could have gone with a Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson run on all 3 downs. And I guarantee you at some point, they would have gotten into the end zone there. But they didn't call it. And again, this comes down to a 1-point game.
I mean, man, there was several penalties, like the Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, that was ticky-tack, the touchdown that they called back. It was a Hunter Henry touchdown that they called back. I knew there was several freaking touchdowns they called back. And Alex Austin, PI, that was just like, that was hand fighting. And I'm like, what are we calling here? At this point, it's just like every time there was a play to be made and we made it, it's like, okay, I'm holding my breath and waiting for the flag because that's just been the MO for the rest of the season. I just think today really wasn't so much on the team. It was more like the referees were just calling. I don't want to be that guy, but it just felt like so many times. Like that helmet to helmet was egregious. Egregious. How does that, even I forget who the hell the analyst was or the commentator. He's like, oh, they're probably going to call this. They're going to give it a call in New York or something. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting on it. Never came. It's like, what are we doing here? That's a helmet to helmet. Why is it that these refs could be staring directly at it and they're completely oblivious? That's why there needs to be full-time refs, man, because this is sickening.
And look, again, like you alluded to, I'm not trying to be that guy because I'm not the guy that comes on here after a loss and I complain about the refs unless they truly deserve it. But again, when
we've got nothing to win for. There's literally nothing, man.
Exactly.
If we lose, we have a possibility to get the first overall pick. If we win, it's a morale booster. There's literally nothing to play for.
Exactly. So it's not like we're sitting here complaining about the refs because we're like, oh, like we wanted to win and we didn't. Like,
no, we'll call a spade a spade.
When you don't call obvious head-to-head contact, that annoys me. But then when again you try to take away a first down from Drake Maye when everybody saw that he was well past it, and you tried to bring out the chains and sabotage it and say he was short. Everybody knew that he wasn't. It wasn't until the coach said, yeah, you need to look at that again because I'm using my challenge flag and had to go upstairs that you guys finally reversed it. That is my problem with the refereeing, is when it is blatant, obvious calls that anybody in the stadium could have seen, anybody on TV could have seen, and you missed several of those calls. That, to me, in a very close game, that's what's frustrating. But to allude back to what I was saying earlier, the reason that we started talking about this is because Christian Barmore said on that 2-point conversion when he was asked about it, he said, and I quote, "Felt like I had good position. I felt like someone was holding my leg. Quentin Nelson is a good player, and he came and got me, but I felt like somebody was holding my leg. Real frustrating." So potentially another missed call by the refs in a pivotal moment, that 2-point conversion where they didn't call holding there on the offensive line. But yet they seem to call everything on the New England Patriots. That's the frustrating part. But Rob, let's go ahead and let's start breaking down the offense here. I want to know your thoughts on Drake Maye because, like I alluded to, I thought Drake Maye played a very good game today. His statistics, he goes 24 for 30. That is an 80% completion percentage, 238 yards, 9.9 yards on average, a touchdown. He was sacked 4 times, overall rating of 96.9. He also put up 5 attempts, 59 yards on the ground, led by a 41-yard run, and then had that interception. Now, to me, that interception, and I don't see how you can argue that it was on him, interception was on Hunter Henry. That is a reliable tight end threat that catches everything that goes his way. Big body guy right into the end zone. He just has to hang on, and that is a touchdown. It bobbles in the air. It falls down on him a little bit, and then the defender picks it up. It's an interception. That's just kind of one of those freak incidences where sometimes things just happen. Sometimes circumstances just happen. The comparison that I made to that play was Super Bowl 49 when the Patriots played the Seahawks. It was late in the game. I believe it was hurt. See, I thought it was Tyler Lockett for a second there. I couldn't remember. But yeah, that exact catch. Sometimes things just happen. Sometimes plays just happen like that. And to me, that's exactly what it was. That wasn't on Drake Maye in the slightest.
Yeah, I mean, the kid was this is my biggest thing, man. Look at what he's got. The worst offensive line in football. He's got relatively no run game. I get it. They looked pretty good against the Colts today, but other than that, it really, I mean, and that's not even against the run game. They just happen to have no offensive line. He's working with all these things that just. By the way, Hooper, for Christ's sake, if you don't send him a new contract soon, I'm gonna have a problem. Don't let him hit free agency. Give him the contract, whatever he wants now, because the combination of Hooper and Henry is actually a problem. But as far as Drake Maye, man, I will say this, and maybe I'll be the first one to say this. And I think I've been saying this. Give this kid, I don't even think it's going to take another 2-3 years. He will be a top 5 quarterback very soon. He's doing this with nothing. Unlike some people in the NFL that have Travis Kelce and all these things and have like 12 touchdowns or whatever it was up until this point. But we're not making excuses because we have Kendrick Bourne, Kayshon Boutte, and such a stud cast of wide receivers, which I'm just saying the moment this kid gets any semblance of talent at that position and gets an offensive line that can block, because he was completing passes. I think at one point in time he was throwing the football at 2.54 seconds. It was just immediately out of his ability to just break down where the ball needs to go in such a split second is crazy. And I really I get that interception happened, man, but I don't mark it down as an interception in my mind. Even though it was an interception on the stat sheet, that's just one of those, man, that I don't think this is one of his clean games, and we haven't had one of those. So he's progressively getting better every week, and it's scary because he has nothing to work with.
Yeah, and progress isn't linear. We all know that. We just need to see a level of consistency. We need to see that he's at least getting better. We're not saying that, hey, you're better this week, now never do it again. We know he's going to have times where he takes a step back, but it's the fact that he is progressing, right? And this should have been a game where he didn't turn the ball over. Honestly, Rob, not even that play, because again, that was a freak incident. I don't think that was a turnover-worthy play. It just happened. I don't have him for any turnover-worthy plays in this game. I thought he put the ball where it needed to be.
There was not a play that was oh,
what are you doing? Where'd you put the ball?
What are you doing? I mean, go watch that Hooper touchdown again. That throw was ridiculous. Ridiculous. I could not wrap, this guy threads the needle like nobody. And this is one thing that you don't see from rookies. You get happy feet. There's no happy feet. Just you get this, he has what Bourne and everybody's been saying for the longest time. This kid has freaking aura. Nobody's business. That even in the latter portion of the game, I felt I'm okay, we have a chance. Because although we had 12 seconds, man, and we got, if it was a yard or two more, he got Sly in field goal range. Yes, Sly missed the field goal at 68 yards. But maybe if you have one more second, maybe 9 seconds, maybe to get another yard.
Maybe if you hit Hunter Henry the first time and Henry doesn't drop the ball.
12 seconds he had, man. 12 seconds. So, and every single one of these late game situations, I don't know about you, I'm there's something about this kid that now he's not Brady, but one thing about Brady is that when the game was in the 2-minute situation or game-winning situation, you always had that feeling, hey, listen, I know we have a chance. Something about this kid is giving me that, I don't know if you get that gut feeling that oh, we have a chance. And he's doing this with, I mean, what? They're nice, talented pieces, but what?
Yeah, I think you used to watch Bailey Zappi, used to watch Mac Jones, and when the game was down, you knew, okay, if you need a field goal, maybe there's a chance, but other than that, you didn't feel too confident. You get Drake Maye in here, and for whatever reason, you feel like there's at least a chance. You have some confidence that he can go around and make plays because he's shown you that he's been able to do so. Now, obviously, in a lot of these situations, there's been a turnover in the most pivotal moment. You look at a couple weeks ago, who was it against? Wasn't against the Dolphins. I think it was against the Rams. They had an opportunity to win. It was like interception in the final drive to win the game. Then you had a couple of weeks ago against the Titans in overtime. Same thing. I think it comes down to not him making bad plays in those moments, but rather those guys are open. It's just coming down to chemistry, continuity, and knowing where your guys are going to be. Also, 5'8" Pop Douglas, having that opportunity. Like, you just need to get guys who are in better positions to succeed.
I mean, not even just that. Look at the latter portion of this game. We realistically, if not for penalties, and I know we're making excuses and we're just like finding some kind of silver lining. This team should have scored over 40 points today. Like, there were several. I mean, AVP
again,
was
2 for 6 in the red zone. 2 for 6 in the red zone.
AVP was in his bag. Yeah, 2 for 6 in the red zone. But Mondre's touchdown was called back, and I believe Henry's touchdown was called back. It could have been 4 for 6 instead of 2 for 6, or like it.
I think that was KB's touchdown.
Oh, it was KB. You're right. But bro, like, you flip it on the other side of the coin, that's what happens. It's just it's a game of inches, and I just think that, like, yes, the 5'8" Pop Douglas is not going to catch that crosser, but she never even looked back at. But maybe a T. Higgins, maybe a McMillan. Like, just give this kid something to work with. Something. I don't even think you need to give him like Higgins. By the way, I think I saw a stat. I gotta go and look it up. I think I have it in my phone. Higgins I believe it was 31. Yeah, here it is. Higgins in 5 games. For the people that are just talking so negatively about the idea of bringing T. Higgins here, I get it. So for me, I don't think he was ever really hurt this season. I just think it's like he's playing for his money.
That's what I put out there too. That's what I said.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for the people that think T. Higgins is not a number 1 wide receiver, T. Higgins in 5 games without Jamar Chase since 2022 is 31 catches, 511 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is over 100 yards a game, about a touchdown a game, and about 6 to 7 receptions a game for 100 yards. I mean, the kid's a freaking stud. He just, like, y'all got to understand, he's being strategic. He gets injured, there goes his bag.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at it, like year 1 without Jamar Chase, when he was taken in the second round as a rookie with Joe Burrow, he put up just under 1,000 yards and like 6 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's still good. But when looking at Drake Maye in this game, one of the biggest questions about him too has been, can you sit in the pocket a little bit more? Like, can you run when you're supposed to run and not just run to run? And I think in this game, we saw that. I think when he ran, it was because plays broke down. The offensive line didn't give him enough time, or receivers just strictly weren't getting open down the field. When he would make plays down the field. But I liked what I saw from him on the ground. He took what was given to him when it was given to him. He was really, really good through the air. That Austin Hooper touchdown was beautiful. Put it on top of his head where only he was going to get it. He knew the size, the catch radius of his tight end, and trusted him to go up and get it where only he was going to do so, with a couple of defenders around him, not just working against the defenders, but also working against the sidelines, working on, the out of bounds, which you're taught to do as a defensive back, to utilize that as an extra defender. So great work by Austin Hooper. Great work by Drake Maye. I don't have anything negative to say about him. Like, I know I don't really have too much to talk about, but I mean, how much more do you got to talk about this kid? I mean, this was one of his best games that he's played so far this season.
I mean, when you look at it, I don't know this. I can't remember. I wish I could recall this exact play. So Drake Maye was running with the football. It counted as a sack or it was a loss in the play, whatever. One thing about this kid that I've noticed is he learns from his mistakes from previous games. He gets every game, I will say, outside of maybe the Dolphins game, he looked progressively better and better. He went, I can't remember what play it was. He escaped out of the pocket. Instead of him embracing contact like he normally did, he slid. But he held the football. He slid, and I'm like, whoa, I've never seen him do that. So it's just the maturity of also you got to factor into it. Like he's learning and he's processing things at such an elite level. I know that's something that people overlook, but it's just he's learning from his mistakes. I personally think that those late game interceptions is just because he's having to play hero ball. I don't think that's going to happen if you get him the right pieces around. Hell, you won't even be put in that situation every damn game.
Well, if you look at it, those guys even got open too. So like he made the right read realistically on those plays that they were interceptions late in the game.
I just think, man, it maybe you won't get in so many of those situations where he has to play hero all the time. But he's just remember I said this. He may be the best quarterback in football in 5 years. Like he's that freaking good. And I just think I'm just going based off what people consider the best quarterback in football right now, and I'm looking at him play, and I'm like, bro, you have Travis Kelce, you have all these things, and you look like shit. Maybe I'm just being a homer, just calling out as I see it. I think he's going to be the best quarterback in football within the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, whether you agree with Rob, you don't agree with Rob, I think that Drake Maye, at the very least, has top 10 quarterback written all over him. No matter where he is, somewhere within that top 10, I feel very confident in saying that he'll be able to do so. The last thing you want, though, is for this offensive line to speed up that internal clock. And I feel like to a degree, we saw that last week. He was able to calm it more down this week. We didn't see it, but that's my biggest worry. And we'll talk about the offensive line here in a minute. But for me, I'm going to be really interested to see how this team comes out of the bye week. I mean, you have one of the hardest remaining schedules in the NFL. You play the Cardinals when you come out of the bye, then you play the Bills, then you play the Chargers, and then you play the Bills again at home. These are very, very tough opponents. These are arguably all playoff teams. So if you can even get one win here, I think that that's a dub. But how is Drake Maye going to look? How does he utilize this bye week? Does he coming out looking a little bit better? Does he meet with Alex Van Pelt, these wide receivers, try to figure out how they can just build some more chemistry, get on the same page, and work around this bad offensive line? That's what I'm excited to see. Give him another extra week to get a little bit healthy, bring down any anxiety, anything that he's been dealing with since he's taken over as the starter, because he was thrown into the middle of the season. He was thrown in week 6? So this will give him a little bit of extra time too to feel a little bit more confident in the playbook. Anything that he wanted to work out or figure out that he didn't have time to do so over the last few weeks, now is the time to do that. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see what he can potentially do. But let's go ahead and let's transition over to the offensive line, because another rough week. What did they allow last week? Like 6 sacks? I don't know, something like that. They allowed 4 sacks this week. Another rough game. You got DeMontre Jacobs with holding. You got Vidarian Lowe with holding. You got Layden Robinson with it. It's the same players, Rob. It is the same players every single week in the same situations. Michael Onwenu too, right? It is quite literally the same players every single week. And when Jerod Mayo, going into halftime, was asked by reporters like, hey, what are your thoughts on the game? What are your thoughts on going for the field goal, blah, 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 all this. He literally just goes, penalties. He goes who cares about the red zone offense, whatever, all this. He basically just says, the penalties are killing us, and it's really, really annoying. He kind of just bounced around the question and clearly started talking about what's been on all of us Patriots fans' minds, and that's the fact that these penalties, game in and game out, 7 penalties 1 week, 9 penalties 1 week. Sometimes you're averaging 13 penalties a game. It's just not a recipe to win. And even dating back to Drake Maye real quick, Rob, the fact that he was put into second and long, third and long, 13 and 15, or third and 15.
And he converts them.
And he still converts them several times. Very, very impressive. But this offensive line continues to hurt this team rather than helping it. What were your thoughts on the O-line?
I don't know, man. You have a quarterback, by the way, who is he's an elite rushing quarterback. He's actually, at this point right now, he's one of the best rushing per attempt quarterbacks in NFL history. Highest yards per carry by a quarterback in an NFL season currently right now. And this is before the game, by the way, which, that number is going to be inflated a little bit. What would you think would be the quarterback that you would be up there, right? Probably Michael Vick, right? Lamar Jackson. Well, Michael Vick is actually number 2 at 8.4 yards per attempt. Drake Maye before this game was at 8.7. So he's testing the defense with his legs behind the offensive line. That's complete dog shit. I don't know. for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a technique thing. I'm not even blaming Scott Peters. Scott Peters, I feel like, is doing a phenomenal job for whatever it's worth.
Oh, yeah, dude. Are you kidding me? The fact that Demontre Jacobs has started as many games as he's had, that guy's a practice squatter at best.
But my biggest thing is this. We wouldn't have been in this situation. I'll go back to this, back to the offseason. We wouldn't have been in this situation in the first place where we're constantly getting aggravated about our offensive line causing holes. And here's my biggest thing. Who was the best left tackle on the market for the people that saying, oh, maybe we should have got a left tackle? Tyron Smith, he wasn't coming here. But you probably could have addressed it through the draft. That's my biggest thing. That's still going to be my biggest, like, oh, my God. That's why I'm also scared about the offseason, because it's like, do we truly trust Elliott Wolf to draft when his up until this point, the draft that he's had, even offensive line, maybe Laban Robinson, Caden Wallace, and some of the free agent signings and Chukwuekorfor for it, it's bad, very bad. And I don't know if I trust him to build an offensive line to protect Drake Maye.
I'm trying to find, there was like this Drake Maye statistic that I brought up when I was filling in for Dan on the huddle. And it's like, since week 6, this is where Drake Maye ranks in terms of rushing statistics overall. And he was like first in yards per carry, second in yards after the contact. Like, he's one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the entire National Football League since he took over in week 6. So the fact that he's rushing more than you would like him to, and he's been dominant there, what's it going to look like when he actually has receivers and he can pass the ball to elite guys? He has time in the pocket to pass the ball, but can still be mobile when he wants to. That's a scary thought. A quarterback with mobility and the arm?
Not even like, man, imagine not being able to load the box because the wide receivers can actually get open and Drake Maye's getting protection. He's doing this with the worst offensive line in football. Up until this point, really not much of a run game. His wide receivers, his best wide receiver up until this point is a 6th-round pick. People are like, oh, our wide receiver core is pretty good. He's throwing to Demario Douglas, who's a 6th-round pick, Keishawn Butte. You get guys that are really field stretchers, a guy that you have to put 2 bodies on. Excuse me. Oh my God. It's scary. This kid is going to be lethal. What did McDaniel say last week? He's like basically praying that this kid doesn't develop. He's like, that's a scary thought. He's like, I'm not going to be the one that's wishing for his development.
Yeah. Before we get into my thoughts here on this offensive line, real quick, I do want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this video over at BetUS. Right now, when you guys use the promo code that you see on the screen, YouTube150, that is YouTube150, you guys will lock yourselves into a limited time exclusive offer of a 150% sign up bonus on your first deposit, followed by 125% sign up bonus on your next 2 deposits, all the way up to $2,000. Remember that supporting the sponsors that support the channel supports me tremendously here at Patriots Global. Could not be here doing this full time. Could not be here giving you guys the best damn Patriots content, roundtable sports content, representing our New England Patriots on the road, even this week, this upcoming week, the roundtable where we're doing part 2 in Miami. We could not be doing all these great things, supporting our New England Patriots, giving you guys this great exclusive content that you aren't going to find anywhere else without the sponsors. So make sure you guys go ahead, check them out. Play smart, play responsible. With BetUS, they can also give you a 200% crypto deposit bonus, 10% back on your net losses 2 times a year, taking care of you and your money through these hard times the way that no other sportsbook is. And they are changing the landscape on what it means to be an online sportsbook, because they are giving you your very own personalized account manager. Really, really cool stuff that they're doing there over at BetUS. They got live wagering on all major games and the best betting variety in the business. I'm not just talking about NFL games, parlays, player picks, all that good stuff. But I'm talking about NFL futures, the NFL draft, NFL awards, college football, basketball, horse racing, fighting, politics, entertainment. If it is something that you want to bet on, I promise you that BetUS is going to have it. You can even bet on the Grammys, all that good stuff. It's super cool. I've done it myself. And with this sign-up bonus, you don't just have to use it on the NFL. You can use it on anything from entertainment to politics to basketball. I know a lot of us are Celtics fans. They're good. Go ahead and bet on them with BetUS. This offer won't be here forever, so make sure you guys go ahead and check them out. But play smart, play responsible, and never bet more than you can afford to lose. But when it comes to this offensive line, as I try to transition us back here, there we go. When it comes to this offensive line, it is what it is. And I actually like Scott Peters. I've been really singing his praise over the last few weeks. You get Vidarian Lowe, who was a bust of a trade last year, a revolving door, and you make him look like at least an okay spot starter, as someone who maybe you don't want to be your starter, your future at left tackle, but maybe he can still be depth. He can be a swing tackle for you. He still deserves a spot on the roster, just not as a full-time starter. You got DeMontre Jacobs during the season to come in and be a starting right tackle for you when I don't even know if this guy should realistically even be in the NFL, let alone a practice squatter at best. And he's starting on a week-to-week basis for you. It's just the same thing every week. They put you in bad positions. You know, you had the KB touchdown. You had the Ramondre Stevenson touchdown. Both called back because of the offensive line. Same thing that happened last week. And Drake Maye can only do so much. He can only convert, third and long so many times before defenses catch along, before they get the best of you at some point, before he cannot be a magician anymore. And it's all because of the offensive line. How many points would the Patriots have put up in this game alone? How many points, how many games would they have won 40 this season if they had at least, not even elite, but if they just had an average, middle of the pack offensive line in the NFL? What would this team look like? And that is why, Rob, I started to come around to the idea of Ted McMillan. I really, really like him. Best wide receiver in this draft, in my opinion. I don't think you can do it. You need a right tackle, and maybe Caden Wallace can be your right tackle. We don't know. But I wouldn't bet on it.
You got to kind of hope that a Ronnie Staley, which I doubt it, that's a left tackle.
He might even go back to Baltimore from what I'm hearing.
No, he's not going to hit. He's going to get tagged. And like those left tackles, wide receiver ones, those guys don't hit the open market. I think T. Higgins will be a little bit of an anomaly. An anomaly because you have two guys that are going to hit the open market, and you just kind of have to make the choice.
Who? Him?
Hey, and here's it. No, him, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Oh, you think Jamar Chase is going to hit?
Well, no. What I'm saying is you have two guys that have the possibility.
Have they have to pay.
Yes, they have. And here's the thing: there's a chance that maybe Jamar Chase might want more money than what they're willing to give because the Bengals are historically cheap when it comes to paying talented players. Which I mean, don't put that. It's not happening. He's going back. But what the hell were we talking about? I just lost my train of thought. I apologize.
T. Higgins?
Okay, yeah. Well, T. Higgins, yeah. Just get him in
the offensive line. Ronnie Staley getting tagged.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Garrett Bowles also, who was basically rumored to be on the trade block when Sean Payton arrived. He's a stellar. I mean, I think I have a stat for him. He's he's a left tackle that I might want. Among 54 tackles with 500 snaps, PFF second highest passing blocking grade. He might not hit free agency now that they might have built because apparently there was like a little bit of a rift going into the season, but maybe that might have been water under the bridge at this point. Hey, hopefully Garrett Bowles hits free agency. He's a little bit older, but I mean, how many really young left tackles do you see that are good? Usually when they get toward the latter portion of the season. I mean, Penny Sewell's probably the only real good left tackle that's young.
Exactly. I know everybody wants the sexy pick. You're going to have a top 5 pick most likely. Everybody wants the sexy pick at wide receiver. I get it, Rob.
I just hope they address it in free agency so you can go get the sexy pick. But my personal opinion is no matter what, you trade back. Accumulate picks because we're not a wide receiver away. There's just unless you that's why this is a great thing, man. This is why this is a great thing. Hopefully address a lot of the issues in free agency. And here's the thing, man. It's not a sexy destination. I mean, Drake Maye made it sexy, but in terms of like taxes and I don't know.
The weather,
you're gonna have to overpay. So getting a guy like a T. Higgins, I mean, I'm thinking it's probably going to be 4 years, $120 million.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it perfectly. And for me, anybody who was on the edge or didn't know what they wanted to do with the Patriots when it comes to that first round pick in terms of wide receiver or tackle, look at the last 2 weeks alone. I mean, the entire season, it hasn't been good. But a couple weeks there, we started to say, okay, it's starting to look a little bit better. Maybe one of these guys can be something for the Patriots. Maybe it's not as big of a deal as we thought. That's because of Drake Maye. Drake Maye made it look better than it was. And at some point, it just started to collapse around itself. I think DeMontre Jacobs and Vidarian Lowe, they can be okay spot starters unless they're playing speed rushers. When they're going up against power rushers and guys with just pure strength, they can, for the most part, hold their own. But when it comes to speed rushers, guys that rush from speed to power, they have struggles. And you're going to face a lot of teams like that, one of which is now Chop Robinson and the Miami Dolphins 2 times a year. You need tackles who are good in the run game, who can be good against the pass, and are also good at facing edge rushers and defensive linemen that are not just power rushers, but are also speed rushers. And I don't think that DeMontre Jacobs or Vidarian Lowe are either one of those. And if you were concerned about it last week, this should be the nail in the coffin on why offensive line needs to be the biggest priority for the Patriots this offseason. Your biggest investment this offseason, Drake Maye, the 3rd overall pick. How do you get the best out of your investment? You get an offensive line to build around him. Drake Maye, when he has a pocket to just sit in, work through his mechanics, and get the ball out correctly, he gets it to receivers. Also, not even on that, but on the flip side of that, it gives your receivers extra time to get in and out of their breaks. Gives them an extra second to get open. So maybe we see a little bit more development. We see more production from like a Jalen Polk, a Javon Baker, DeMario Douglas, a Kendrick Bourne, a Kayshon Boutte. If they have a little bit of extra time to get open and don't need to get open in a split second, you're also going to get your return on investment in the running game. Not only did you give Ramondre Stevenson an extension this offseason, you signed Antonio Gibson to a multi-year deal too. If you want to get the best out of your investments, then the best way to do so is to go offensive line, which also just so happens to be your biggest need. And Rob, you hit on something and you said, wide receivers and tackles, they don't hit the open market. They don't. Never. So what do you do? What do you do? If a guy doesn't hit the open market, how do you address it? Usually you try to trade. And every single year, Rob, we see at least one wide receiver one elite game changer being available for trade. You don't see offensive tackles.
Someone's going to be available.
Ever available. You don't see offensive linemen ever available. Ever.
Amen.
Because they don't come along. And when they do, they stay with teams and teams prioritize them. The only way the Patriots are going to address this offensive line is via the draft and anybody that just so happens to hit free agency. Who was it? Walker Little? I want to say who it was, who earlier today got a big extension with the Jags. He was one of the best tackles that was projected to hit the open market. Now he's off the market. Again, because good tackles, good linemen, they very, very rarely ever hit the open market. And usually that's why you need to address it in the draft. First round. Trade back, Kelvin Banks.
Only way they hit the open market is if you try tagging them several times. So I'm calling up Seattle. Because DK's wasting away over there. I'm going to go get DK. Period. He's coming up his contract year next year. So, they're going to have to pay him. And they don't even have – Geno Smith is a good quarterback. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl. So, go get yourself a DK Metcalf. Like you said, wide receiver ones always become available. They're always available. Someone is going to become available. I just don't really. Higgins is the best wide receiver that's going to be out there. But outside of him, Amari Cooper, who's older, I don't know.
I don't want a guy who's 30.
Yeah, I think I would even probably go get Higgins and freaking DK. I'm at the point where you get this kid, you give freaking Drake Maye as much at his disposal as possible, and then go offensive line in the draft. Go get both of them. Fuck it, because you have the money to do it.
I don't know, man. Me personally, I'm excited to see what Scott Peters can do with real talent. If he could turn Vidarian Lowe into this, he could turn not Ben Johnson. Who is it? Who's the center right now? It's escaping me.
For who?
For us.
I think he's Ben Brown or what. I forget.
Ben Brown, yeah. I keep thinking like Ben Johnson. No, Ben Brown, he turned Ben Brown into a capable center.
A decent
Demontre Jacobs into a capable guy. I think he could be a good backup. I don't think
they're all going to be backups for us because nobody else is going to claim them. But here's my problem, and that sorry for cutting you off, but here's my problem. We are going into an offseason and we're trying to assess what we need. I'm sorry, and I know I just lamented to it. I'll say it again. I'm scared because it's like, okay, we have all this money. The person that's at the helm in terms of like evaluating the talent to get on this team has done nothing. I mean, nothing. You don't get credit for Drake Maye falling to you. You don't get credit for that, Elliott Wolf. So that's my biggest fear, that his evaluation of talent, that his evaluation of what we need is not at the level where it needs to be. And you cannot risk these years of Drake Maye's contract, that rookie contract, because in a couple of years, you're going to have to pay this kid $65 million per year. And I don't trust, at least at this moment, Elliott Wolf to draft the right guys. I mean, for years, we were talking about how we don't trust Bill Belichick, but Elliott Wolf was on the staff, was he not? I don't want to hear. We can all say all these stories about how this current regime of Elliott Wolf, Matt Groh wanted Deebo Samuel and all these guys. Show me the tape, or I don't believe you, because they're going to go and do their normal thing of slam Bill Belichick like they always do. I want proof, because at this point, I'm scared, man. I don't know about you, like. I don't have as much confidence that we're going to be able to assess. Look, I'm confident, and I'm a little bit confident in Jerod Mayo. I'm very confident in AVP now because he's just leaps and bounds where he was at the beginning of the season. DeMarcus Covington is a fucking joke. I'm sorry. Excuse my French.
You said what we were all thinking, man.
He is a fucking joke. He doesn't have... I think he has a coloring book on the sideline. That's how he comes up with his whole defensive schemes. But these are guys that were brought on. Scott Peters have a ton of faith in him. I don't know if I have a lot of faith in our wide receivers coach, because both those guys, I mean, Tyler Hughes came out of Washington for the Washington Huskies, and Taekwon Underwood has what? He has a little bit of time with the Steelers, but he's mostly University of California. Where the hell is the veteran in the room? I see a lot of these Patriots talk shows that say these things. We brought a lot of guys in that are green, and it seems like that's a cheap route. I really hope it's not because, hey, listen, you bought that damn fucking video board, spend the fucking money this offseason, because if this team, I'm telling you, there's fans that are already not going to games. I don't know. There's points in times during the game where the fans are booing. They won't go to the games. Load up on talent. Load on talent the right way and address the staff. I think you bring back Mayo. You bring back AVP 110% you bring back. You get rid of our wide receiver coaches. They fucking suck. And defensive coordinator, Covington should be on his way to freaking China now. Like, send him out. Give him a Vikings funeral. Get him out of here. I'm fucking fed up with him. I could run a better defense than him. Putting Christian Gonzalez on a third option on wide receiver. Every freaking Patriots fan that's in here has a fucking brain enough to... I'm sorry, man. I'm like that. He pisses me off to no end. He's like, at least with the rest of the staff, Mayo has made improvements. He's getting better situationally. AVP is so much better, but that's probably because he had. I mean, I'm going to give him. Maybe we're a little bit harsh on him, but he's gotten more and more time and he's progressed. What the hell do we have with Covington other than shit?
Yeah, I can't even look at both sides on that one. You know, I do think with Jerod Mayo, he has one more year, whether we like it or not. We can sit here complain. He has one more year to prove what he has.
The problem
AVP has gotten better.
Where there's great freaking coaches available.
Yeah, AVP has gotten better for sure. I don't think you can argue that. Not just that, but you don't want to have another offensive coordinator. That'd be like, what, 4 in 4 years or 5 in 5 years, something like that. And also Drake Maye. I mean, that year 2 leap You got to make sure he hits it. You don't want to make him end up being like CJ Stroud, who hits a wall in year 2, even with more talent around him. You want to keep the same scheme. You want to keep that development rolling, because even in year 2, he is not in a position where he's going to be able to do things that veterans are able to do. Everybody talks about year 1. Nobody talks about year 2, and it's arguably the most important. So I think Alex Van Pelt stays. And yeah, I think depending on how the rest of the season goes, DeMarcus Covington could be on the outside looking in. And I think he should. I like him as a defensive lineman.
Over his ass to the airport.
And as much as we want him to go, I think we have to ask ourselves, what is Robert Kraft going to say? What's Gerard Mayo going to say? And they're going to believe in development, in their players, in their coaching staff. And if this is how Covington continues to coach for the remainder of 4 games, I think he should go. And I think if we get blown out, then I think it's a real conversation. But I'm not 100% locked into it, because I think they'll be like, well, we had injuries and a lack of talent and all these different things, and they'll try to make excuses. But I'm actually going to look at the flip side for Elliott Wolf, because I actually like what Elliott Wolf did in the draft. I left this draft, well, not right now, but like at the time after the draft. After the draft, at the time, I liked what he did. I liked Jalen Polk coming out of the draft. I liked the pick. Hasn't worked out so far in hindsight, but it's easy in hindsight to say, looking back, things didn't work. You have to say at the time, what was the outlook? And I understand people saying, well, why didn't they go Ladd McConkey? You can't have 2 slot receivers on the field. You don't want to have Pop Douglas and McConkey, both like 5'9" guys on the field.
Mitchell would have been the pick.
You're not going to be able to get them. So yeah, like if you want to make a case for like A.D. Mitchell, okay, that's fine, 100%. But the Ladd McConkey one, instead of Jalen Polk, that one doesn't make sense. But again, I liked Polk at the time. I thought he was going to be a good receiver. Like you said, Tyler Hughes coming out of Washington. Where's Polk coming out of? Washington. So you believed in that continuity and that development. I like that pick. Drake Maye looks good. Marcellus Dial looks good. Jaheim Bell, he's there certain packages. He's a 7th round pick. What are you expecting? I like the Joe Milton pick for the value that they had. What is Caden Wallace? We don't know. I don't like the Robinson pick, just point blank. I didn't at the time. I don't like it now. Caden Wallace, we don't know. But they, even in the offseason, people being like, why didn't you get Calvin Ridley? Look at Calvin Ridley now. Did y'all want Calvin Ridley? By the way, they tried to get him. He chose not to play here. This offseason, they tried to get talent in a not very good free agency pool, by the way. Players chose not to come here because the Patriots, and by the way, this is what players said.
They will choose to come here now.
Players said that they didn't want to come to New England, not because of the money, but because they had uncertainty at the quarterback position. Now the Patriots have $130 million in cap space, and they have something special at quarterback. Players will be interested in coming here as long as they're not disrespected financially.
I think personally, I think you have your lad McConkey. He's shaking off rust right now currently. His name is Kendrick Bourne.
How many times do I got to say? You know, let's transition.
Hey, listen, I was wrong. I'm not gonna lie. I was wrong. I can admit when I'm wrong. I was on the boat of not even bringing this guy back. Like, but realistically, was I wrong for my assessment? He's going to be 30 years old, coming off an ACL injury.
People didn't want him back.
And what was he really? He's a wide receiver 3, but he's a difference maker. He's going to be one of those core guys going forward with not only just his ability to make good catches, and he looks like Kendrick Bourne again, but also just the leadership he brings that I think is something special that you really can't quantify.
What do you think about the rest of the receivers in this game? And by the way, let's go down here. So Hunter Henry led the Patriots in targets and receptions and yards. 9 targets, 7 receptions, 75 total yards. Austin Hooper was second, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Booty was third, 6 targets, 3 receptions, 41 yards. Kendrick Bourne, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 39 yards. And then the rest is like Stevenson, Douglas, and Polk, who really didn't do anything.
I'm happy with Kendrick Bourne. Polk, I don't know, man. He's still a rookie, so we'll figure it out. Maybe they'll get Baker out there some point. Maybe week 18 at this point, because it's like, when are you going to get this guy out there? I don't know, man. The wide receivers are just like, what is our offense? It is our tight ends, which is why I've been banging on the table, man. Go get the contract done for Hooper now. Like now. He is a stud. And my biggest thing is this: you probably could go get a probably better tight end out there. Here's my biggest thing: is I want Drake Maye to have his binky. I want him to have his safety blanket, and that happens to be his tight ends. So why change it? Bring back Hooper to build more chemistry with Hunter Henry, and then you got two guys at his binkies, and then you go give him the deep threats. Am I in the minority about this? I think bring back Hooper.
No, I think you need good two tight ends, just because Drake Maye likes those big body guys. He's still young. He's still developing. What's he going to do? He's going to go to his big body trusted receivers. He likes to operate in between the numbers, which is where your tight ends are going to operate. So yeah, you want to bring back those guys. This might be the best that we've seen Austin Hooper by the end of the year. Might be the best we've seen him since he was good with Atlanta. So I agree with bringing him back, depending on what his market ultimately ends up being. But I think Ashton makes a good point here that I want to bring up. And that is, where is it? I can't find the exact comment right now, but if I find it, I'll put it up. Basically, what he says is play Baker. I mean, you got 4 games. You're not playing for anything.
Baker can't be worse than Polk.
Yeah, Baker cannot be worse than Jalen Polk. So why not play Javon Baker? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, at this point, what are you really losing if you go play Baker?
Oh, here it is.
I agree. Like the one play where he had an opportunity, I don't know if that was on Maye or that was on Polk. That was kind of behind him, but I believe it like hit him in the hands, or I don't know if it was a drop or whatever. Regardless, I don't know, man. Like at this point, I will play as much people as possible because just split the snaps. And KB is all for it. He's really just all for it. So if you want to cut his snaps a little bit to give Baker a little bit of time, go for it. You got to develop these kids, and him being on the bench is not developing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Ashton says, can he really be worse? Because you had Polk today get a target. It looked like it was off target by Maye. I immediately said, I wonder if they're just still not on the same page. I wonder if the continuity, the chemistry, it is not there still.
Hell, it might be a mental thing, man.
Which is crazy. Which is crazy to say because those guys were like this the entire offseason. And now it just doesn't seem to be there. But
it still can be there.
Play too, Rob, after that play, Jalen Polk goes to the sideline. We really don't see him after that. And he's like trying to plead his case to the wide receivers coach. And you can just see that Tyler Hughes is just like annoyed, pissed off. So that made me think, okay, clearly Jalen Polk's still not doing something right. So if that's the case, and you're not playing Javon Baker because you want to play Jalen Polk, but you're not playing you're not playing Javon Baker because he's not ready, but you're playing Jalen Polk. Those things don't make sense. You can't do one, but then not do the other. But also, why make KJ Osborne a healthy scratch when you have somebody like Jalen Polk who's not ready? You're trying to force development that right now it's just not there and he's not ready for. If you're going to sit Polk for these reasons, you better sit. Or if you're going to sit Baker for these reasons, you better sit Jalen Polk for the same exact reasons. You have 4 games left. See what you have from Baker. Sit Jalen Polk at this point. I'm all for it.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think I called this during the draft. I think Javon Baker has the opportunity to be really special. I really do. He's had one of the highest miles per hour to the only one that was above him was Tez Walker. And he was fourth or 5th in the contested catches in the draft. He can be special, that kid, but he's not going to be special from the bench. I think maybe it's a Tyler Hughes thing, man. Tyler Hughes is coming from he was Polk's coach. So maybe that has some type of reasoning why he's getting out there and Baker's not. But I don't know, man. At this point, I think the moment you get that kid out there, I think he might have his hair on fire because because one thing about Baker that I noticed is he's fiery and he runs his identity off of motivation. And I think the moment you give him something, and I think right now, Polk's problem, I don't even think it's just a skill thing. I think it's really between the ears, man. And I'm not saying he's not intelligent. I'm saying his confidence is shattered at this point. And I don't feel like it's conducive to keep him out there. Go get someone else
I
out
think
there,
it's
man.
hurting him. I think it's hurting him at this point because if it really is his confidence, if it's really shook and keeping him out there and not having anything happen, no production, it's going to hurt him even more.
Go look when they put him on the sideline. Go look at that point. He looked defeated. Like, stop putting him out there. Let him just like get his brain just like situated. Like, give him an off season. I would just like for the rest of the season, just let him sit.
Not even that, but are you more worried about the development of Drake Maye or Jalen Polk? Because put the guy out there, put a receiver out there, whether it's KJ Osborne or Javon Baker, that is going to at least be a bigger threat, that can at least be a little bit more reliable with Drake Maye than the other guy is going to be.
I think
that's just what it comes down to.
I think one thing is I'm not even remotely concerned with Drake Maye because I think he's scratching the surface on his ability. I think you look at the rest, like the guys that we are supposedly looking for the future of this team. Where's the future on this team? Like you're concerned about whether Baker's going to develop, but you're keeping him on the bench. He's not getting snaps. Jalen Polk looks defeated. Kendrick Bourne, I think he's going to be Kendrick Bourne again. I think he's slowly getting there. But outside of that, like, what do you really have? Keyshawn Butte has his moments, and our tight ends. That's it. So I just think that, like, my biggest thing, what's the worst that could happen? You put Javon Baker out there. He catches a few balls, and then you got something. But at this point, like, even if he runs the wrong routes, I mean, Jalen Polk's dropping footballs. What, like, it can't be worse. Like Ashton says, and like he always says. Great point, Ashton.
Yeah, and my point just on why at this point sit Jalen Polk for another guy is, again, how many of these games have we seen the Patriots lose that have come down to the wire, that have come to close games, that have come into, all right, you need to drive down the field in overtime, or you're down by 5 in the fourth quarter with a minute left and you need to get into the end zone to win the game. Maybe if you have a KJ Osborne or you have a Javon Baker in there over Jalen Polk, maybe something else can happen. Like maybe you can spark something and at least have another wide receiver on the field that can be a playmaker for you, because right now Jalen Polk isn't that guy. And when you play games like you play today against the Colts, where it's down to the wire, it comes down to inches, having a guy who's even marginally better could make the world of difference. But let's go ahead. Let's transition into the rushing attack. Ramondre Stevenson, 18 attempts, 73 yards today, 4.1 yards on average. Did fumble, but he did get it back. He had a long run of 32 yards. Antonio Gibson, maybe a welcome to the New England Patriots game. 7 attempts, 62 yards. Well, maybe not welcome to the New England Patriots. He had some good games early on in the season, but welcome back, I should say, to the New England Patriots, Antonio Gibson. 7 attempts, 62 yards, 8.9 yards on average, and 1 touchdown. He looked really, really good today. I was hoping the Patriots were going to use him more than they use Ramondre Stevenson. 7 attempts, to me, there's something wrong with that. You got to run this guy more. I've been saying you need to run Kendrick Bourne more. They're starting to do so. He's producing for you. I still think they need to find ways to get him more involved. I also said start using Antonio Gibson more, not just on the ground, but through the air as a wide receiver, out of the backfield, out wide, in the slot. Former wide receiver converted to running back. Utilize one of your biggest offseason additions more, and they're not doing so. But when they do start to give him marginally more opportunities, he's making the most of them, and today looked really, really good. This is one of the best games we have seen from the rushing attack in a very long time. What did you think about both Ramondre and Gibson?
I think also it's just because, like, what I mentioned about, like, Drake Maye's ability to, like, run, that's making it to where, like, you have to account for him. So our rushing attack, I mean, like, you gotta, how many times that our running backs are shedding tackles in the backfield, like, for losses? Like, imagine if you had some semblance of an offensive line, an average offensive line, then you got 2 studs at running back. Like, these, how many times have they shed tackles? Look, I've never, the only thing that we had a problem with, Colby, up until this point was Ramondre Stevenson's fumbling. And he's cleaned it up for the most part. Other than, I mean, he got it back today, but, like, for the most part, he's cleaned it up. I'm not really concerned about a rushing attack because I know that will get better the moment you have an average offensive line.
Well, let's go ahead and let's transition. I know we got Patreon members who we put up the chat for you guys. You guys will come on soon here. But want to transition here lastly into the defense today. I know that they allowed
Jesus Christ.
25 points, but to me, Rob, the way that I see this is inconsistencies. I don't think the defense is bad. I think the defense is wildly inconsistent because they got some turnovers.
Alex Austin.
They made some really, really good plays. Like you mentioned, welcome back, Alex Austin. Christian
We might have our
Gonzalez
cornerback too,
made
man.
plays today. Alex Austin made plays today. Marcus Jones made plays today. Jelani Tavai made plays today. There were guys that were making plays. Welcome back, Jabril Peppers, who I think quietly had a good impact in today's game. And he's just going to get more and more acclimated as weeks go on. But it's the inconsistencies. You're stopping Jonathan Taylor behind the line. You're stopping him at the line. You're getting an interception. You're getting a pass breakup 50 yards down the field. But then you're letting Anthony Richardson run on you for a first down. Then you're letting Jonathan Taylor go for 4 yards, then 12 yards, then 8 yards, then 4 yards, then stop behind the line. It doesn't matter if you're able to make these big plays, make these big stops behind the line, if you're going to let them still convert on you. And especially late into the game where this defense dominated on first down, dominated on second down, dominated on third down. Then they would go for it on fourth down with the game on the line, and they converted on every single fourth down attempt in large part, though, because of Anthony Richardson on the ground. This offense today somehow scored 25 points. I don't know how. They scored 25 points and did next to nothing in terms of offense. I mean, Anthony Richardson, 50% completion percentage, 12 for 24, 109 passing yards.
He's not a good quarterback.
Touchdowns, 2 interceptions, overall rating of 55.7. He was sacked 0 times. Jonathan Taylor, 25 attempts, 96 yards, 3.8 yards on average. So, I mean, I know that 96 yards is still a lot, but they ran him 25 times, and the Patriots are at least getting better. I mean, usually there's a guy going 18, 20 attempts, and we're seeing him go for 100-plus yards, averaging at least 4 yards per carry. They were at least able to limit Jonathan Taylor on 25 attempts to less than 100 yards and less than 4 yards per carry. Anthony Richardson, 9 attempts, 48 yards, 5.3 yards on average, 1 touchdown, long run of 13 yards. Their leading receiver was Michael Pittman, who led them in targets with 7, receptions with 5, and receiving yards with 42. Their offense didn't do much today, but they made plays when it mattered most. They were clutch when it mattered most. They were better in the red zone today than the New England Patriots were, significantly. And that's why they won today's game. What did you think about this defense?
I think we might have our cornerback 2 of the future because Alex Austin was his second game of the season. He played, lights out. He was special. But we're going against Anthony Richardson. But I'll go back on the other side of that coin. Some of these pass breakups by Alex Austin and Marcus Jones were good. Marcus Jones got to be in his role that he's comfortable in, cornerback 3.
Yep.
Having Alex Austin and Christian Gonzalez on the boundary and just becoming just problems. I think having Jabril Peppers back, having Dietrich Wise back, having Alex Austin back, just all the culmination of all that, and just like I'm just watching the game and watching how Jabril Peppers is situationally telling people where to line up and everything. Those things are definitely a reason why this game was close. Even with our offense being slapped in the face every time a penalty would happen. But I was impressed with the defense today. It's just backbreaking plays when I don't know. I don't know if we have to get just faster linebackers in the offseason because it seems like anybody that's a mobile quarterback just beats up on us once they get out of escape contain.
Yeah, I think it comes down to edge rushers, right? And my original list when it came to priorities for the Patriots went offensive tackle, wide receiver 1, edge rusher, and then a bunch of other stuff. It's quickly becoming different. For me, it's quickly becoming offensive tackle, edge rusher, and then wide receiver. And that's not because wide receiver isn't a need, but edge rusher is so bad. We are not getting any pressure on any given week. We are not containing the edge against mobile quarterbacks. We need, this is another week with 0 sacks. We need to get guys that can get to the quarterback. And this is a really, really good edge class. So I know a lot of people want edge rusher in the first. I wouldn't go edge rusher in the first because this is a stacked class at that position. You could get a game-changing guy high in the second round and be fine. Trade back into the back end of the first and still be able to do so. So I wouldn't go with our top 5 pick on an edge rusher, but the lack of pass rush, the lack of getting to the quarterback is hurting this team, and they're having to find alternative ways to get to the quarterback to apply pressure, sending linebackers off the edge, setting them through gaps, having cornerback and safety blitzes. They need to be able to get home with just 4 players, and they're just not getting that. Yannick Ngakoue had a couple of good pressures, but still not nearly enough from him. No one's really changing the game in terms of a pass rush standpoint. So for me, quickly becoming more and more of a bigger need here for the Pats.
And just to highlight, go back to the whole, I don't know how I feel about like Hitch. We may need a safety too, man, because we don't know what's happening with Jabril Peppers. I'm not going to go dive into that situation, but more than likely,
it's still up in the
we're going to need a safety. But when you go look at the teams that are successful, what do they all have in common? They got a good wide receiver, good to great wide receiver, like a wide receiver 1. They have a left tackle, and they have edge rushers. That's like you have to have all 3, and a quarterback, obviously. But you need all that to be a successful team, to make deep playoff pushes.
You know what you just named, Rob? You just named exactly what I've been telling Patriots fans on this channel are the most important positions in football. I said, you have to hit on the quarterback. That's number 1.
Left tackle.
Everybody thinks that, okay, well, after quarterback, you go like wide receiver 1, cornerback. No.
Yeah, but wide receiver 1 is something you can get at any point in time if you make the right sales pitch to someone else.
The second most important thing in football after the quarterback is the trenches. The offensive line and the defensive line. And the Patriots, ironically, they're not a good team because they're struggling the most on the offensive line and the defensive line. I don't think that is a coincidence in the slightest.
Yeah, and like I said, man, like who do you get? Maybe you go get a Kelvin Banks. Like I'm so serious, man. I hope somehow we can get like a Garrett Bowles, maybe, but like they can tag him. That's the biggest thing. They can tag him.
What I would do at corner, I know you like Alex Austin, and I think he looked good today. Alex Austin had some rough moments this season too. So like
DJ Reed, man,
up in the air for me. Like I want to see more from him. I've always wanted to see more from Alex Austin than Marco Wilson. I thought it was always dumb that they were playing Marco Wilson more than Alex Austin. What I would do is they have so much money. I wouldn't even go DJ Reed. I would go with like a Carlton Davis. I have a couple of names at corner. I think they need a big
over DJ Reed, who's one of the best cornerbacks in football.
I like DJ Reed. DJ Reed is small. What is our problem with corner right now? We're small. If you look at how many times we've gotten killed against wide receivers this year, it's when our cornerbacks have had to go up against 6'1", 6'2" plus tall wide receivers, because our guys are good. You know, like if you look at Marcus Jones is a great cornerback. Why does he get beat up on? He's 5'8". It's not hard to compete against a 5'8" cornerback. John Jones at 5'10". That was his issue with going from slot corner to outside corner, was he didn't have enough size. So he was inconsistent at times because he was getting beat due to the lack of size. You got Gonzo, who's over 6 foot. I think you need another guy who's going to give you a little bit of height outside of him, because you have cornerbacks that are already a little bit undersized. Maybe they can go out. Maybe they can get DJ Reed and they can go get like a Carlton Davis. But for me, if I had to prioritize one over the other, I'm going with a guy who can be a very, very, very good number 2. He's a veteran and he adds height. Because when you play teams with tall receivers, like if you look at the Bengals, if you got to play T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, it's going to be rough to win that game with 5'10", 5'8" cornerbacks.
So someone asked a question. I know I'm just reading the chat. Rob, why would you get Garrett Bowles come here? He was upset when the Broncos losing. He said, all I've done is lose, so why would he come to New England? Because you have a quarterback like Drake Maye. For the people that I seen in the chat, what's his name, Negan. He was talking about why would T. Higgins come here? Because you have a live arm like Drake Maye that's doing something with nothing. Why, guys? When you're saying that, like, I know this is kind of drifting off topic a little bit, Colby, but like when you guys are saying how like, oh, Elliott Wolf or Kraft, why would they spend? They have to spend. It's in the CBA. They have to spend. And I hate to break it to y'all, but like if Brandon Ayuk decides he wants to come here, he's a Patriot. Why are people not seeing these things? Calvin Ridley, we wanted to pay him. We tried to pay him. It wasn't a matter of him not wanting to come here. It wasn't a matter of us not spending the money. He was going to come here. He just didn't want to. I guess it was his girlfriend, whatever. The trade was in place with the 49ers for Brandon Ayuk. All he had to do was say yes. That's it. And he was going to get paid. Colby, you fact check me if I'm wrong on any of these things.
Yeah, I mean, apparently Kyle Shanahan too, like, didn't really want to. The general manager and front office wanted to ship away Ayuk, but Ayuk and Kyle Shanahan both were like, nah, we don't want to do that.
So here's the thing. If you think players are not going to come here, in the beginning of the season, yeah, you could make the case. Being that you have all these coaches and players that are speaking about Drake Maye and you could attest to this, Colby, to Drake Maye being special, they will play for him.
Yeah, I mean, again, Patriots have $130 million.
So why did Ayuk say no, Rob? Because
that was the off season. That was the
off
season.
You are so oblivious. It's funny. Drake Maye hadn't played yet. There's my rebuttal. How casuals, bro? Casuals.
But I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm perfectly fine. Just real quick, I'm okay with Ayuk not coming here. I was okay with it at the time. I'm okay with it now. I don't want him.
He's a little bit ahead.
I didn't want the mindset. I'm perfectly fine with it. We have to see what happens during the offseason. You know, we can't predict, but this is a different offseason than it was for the Patriots last year. I think Patriots fans, they do need to understand that. This isn't year one of Drake Maye, year one of Gerard Mayo, year one of Elliott Wolf. No one knew who the Patriots were, what they were doing. Did they hit on a quarterback? The Patriots have $130 million in cap space. They have a lot of money. They have some of the most money in the NFL. They have a quarterback now, and they have a year two of a system that's a little bit more developed. So I'm not telling you every free agent's going to want to come and play here, but what I'm telling you is that we're definitely more established than we were last year. But back to this game before we go ahead and we bring on the Patreon members, what I'll say is decent bounce back game from Kyle Duggar, who last week, all 4 touchdowns against Miami, he was involved in. He did allow the game-winning touchdown to I believe it was Alec Pierce who had that. So, you know, still has some things to work through, but in the running game, he was really good. Still has to work through coverage a little bit. I think getting back Jabril Peppers allowed guys to play in, you know, a little bit more positions where they actually play well, where they can succeed. And Jelani Tavai, man, I've been saying this for a while. I think Jelani Tavai is back. They're putting him in a position to succeed again. And because of that, you look at it, that Christian Ellis interception, that was because of Jelani Tavai getting his hands on the ball and tipping it. So, yeah, a lot of people don't want to talk about Tavai because he's not the one making the play. But a lot of times you have to look at why was that play made and not necessarily who made it. And a lot of times those guys end up being Jelani Tavai, Marcus Jones, Marte Mapu, and Jabril Peppers. So overall, I know that you lost the game. You allowed 25 points, but it just comes down to inconsistencies. They have to limit those splash plays. And if they can do so, I like where this team is headed. But let's go ahead and let's bring on DTN. Let's see what he has to say before we wrap up today's video. There we go. DTN, how we doing?
Doing good. Anything that I could get a win for today. So currently I'm watching the Bruins taking on the Canadians. Hopefully that should be something, because throughout like the past couple of weeks, I was thinking of how I would compare Elliott Wolf to like the general manager for the Bruins, because we know for a fact that this year the Bruins are not having a decent of a season. But we're not talking about the Bruins. We're talking about the Patriots. And my goodness, I'm okay with that win, with that loss, even though like it was not anything like disheartening or like a blowout. But at least that there were some
that was
like
definitely disheartening, bro. That was disheartening as hell. I don't know. I don't know about you, Colby. I'm having this internal dilemma. I'm like, if we lose, we get a higher draft pick. If we win.
Yeah, I want to win personally. Like, I get the whole draft pick thing. You can always trade up. They're going to have a top 10 draft pick no matter what. So for me, I want to win. I want to carry momentum into the offseason. I want this to be a place where people want to play. I've always compared the Patriots to I've always compared the Patriots to the Detroit Lions with Dan Campbell. They, on the final, they were like a 3-win team that first year. They kind of put on a little bit of a game stretch there. Year one, they took that momentum, took it into year two. They started to win some games in, I think it was 2022 the year was, and they became like a 9-win team, just missed the playoffs. And then in 2023, they have the second best, or they're tied for the second best record in the National Football League, and they should have went to the Super Bowl. So I think it all depends on momentum. And for me, I want the momentum rather than I want the higher draft pick, because we're already guaranteed top 10 anyway.
I just wanted a win. I just wanted a win just so that we have something heading to the bye week. Because like there's like narratives of like you have half of the fans that wanted wins so we can have the momentum moving on next season. And then you have narratives of saying we need to lose just so that we can tank to get a top pick. The fact is, last year we did tank just so we can get a quarterback.
I think we just sucked.
No,
Well, yeah,
brother, we're not even tanking. We're not even tanking now. We just suck.
That's what
bro. I don't even think any of these games we're losing intentionally. We're just not good.
That's the sad part.
That's just how it is.
Also, I just don't. It just seems like we can all think that the refs are being biased just because the Colts don't have enough, only had like one penalty, while the Patriots have multiple penalties. I don't care if the refs are bad or not. The only thing that matters is that penalties kill drives. What did I say about the offensive line from the very beginning? They will kill drives just so that they can just so we can score like field goals or nothing or just punt the ball. What did Elliot Wolf do last week? He did something so weird that I just did not notice. He cut Michael Jordan, who was waived. Then they signed him back to the practice squad.
I like that. I like to re-sign him to the practice squad. He was elevated today, by the way. Just so that's good. He was elevated today. I believe he's now out of elevation. So
yeah,
interesting to see what happens with him.
Well, that's good. Well, the tackle position. It seems like we're picking up more guards than we're picking up tackles, and I know that for a fact that I don't think that there's like a good decent tackle.
Guards are a dime a dozen. You can't like finding good tackles are just like
it's like.
Because the best positions are on the edge. So
yeah. I'm just gonna say it one more time. Why the hell is DC still having a job? Like the defense just looks worse week after week after week, and I'm like, can we just get rid of this guy, or this guy needs to get his shit together and just come up with schemes or have like situational football, because this is I don't know how many weeks I have to say this. This guy needs to go. How many more weeks do we need to see blown plays like every single week? Like what happened against the Dolphins? What happened against the Texans? Like every single week, ever since that Seahawks game, the defense just looks worse and worse, and this guy needs to go. I don't care that we need the longevity or the continuity or to continue like this chemistry with the defense. He needs to go. He is not adjusting to the situation, and there is like no situation football. Just like what the Bears did on Thanksgiving against the Lions. There was no situation football in the last 30 seconds of the game, and this is somewhat similar. I don't know if I would compare.
Well, man, like the biggest thing is this. We're going to get to find out what we're going to do to address that in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, like we really said too, Rob, we have $130 million in cap space. We got a lot to still do. We got some draft capital. Looks like we won that Matthew Judon trade, so an extra third-round pick too. And the Falcons are falling right now too. But DTN, brother, look, we appreciate you for tuning in. We are back on the AFC East Roundtable this week, man.
I got some words
and Wednesday, baby. Yes, we are getting ready for our event in Miami. So DTN, can't wait to see you this week on the AFC East Roundtable. Yeah. Bring the heat, my brother. But, hey, Rob, look, any last words before we head on out today? Where are you feeling with the Patriots right now? Like, where do you go? What are you looking forward to on the bye week? Other than, not having to watch.
What is there really to look forward to on the bye week, man? It's like this team is finding new ways to lose. But one thing I will say, man, is that, like, I was concerned with a lot of this coaching staff. I was concerned with a lot of the things on this team. Not like being that Drake Maye's the scale or how he's trending is just it seems like he's going up, and his comparison was what Josh Allen. He's way more accurate than what Josh Allen was as a rookie, and just get this kid some damn talent, man. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but like I'm looking at this team and where they're trending towards, and I'm ecstatic. AVP has grown significantly. I just want to see some semblance of, like TTN was saying, continuity on defense. I don't know what the hell we're doing with Covington. And I don't know. Maybe you could pass the damn signal calling to someone else at this point, because situationally the guy is just oblivious.
Yeah, I agree. Well, hey guys, before we head on out real quick, I do want to give another massive shout out to the sponsors of this video over at BetUS. Right now, when you guys use the promo code that you see on the screen, YouTube150, that is YouTube150, you guys will lock yourselves into a limited time exclusive offer of a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, followed by 125 on your next two, all the way up to $2,000. BetUS can also give you a 200% crypto deposit bonus, 10% back on your net losses 2 times a year, and can give you your very own personalized account manager. They have a live wagering on all major games and the best betting variety in the business, not just NFL props, not just parlays, not just NFL futures, not just NFL awards. They got some really cool things that you can bet on when it comes to the NFL. It really changes every given week. Like before the season started with BetUS, I had bet on who I thought was going to be the team that CeeDee Lamb was going to play for in 2025. And I was like, I still think he's going to end up a Cowboy, when nobody else thought that. And I ended up winning it. So those are just some of the really cool things that you can bet on with BetUS. You can also bet on college football, basketball, horse racing, fighting, politics, entertainment. They have the best betting variety in the business. But play smart, play responsible, never bet more than you can afford to lose. But big shout out to them. We could not be running this channel without BetUS. But guys, that's going to end it for today's video. We appreciate you guys for riding with us here today. We got the bye week this week, so everybody take that time to relax a little bit. Don't watch the Patriots for a week. Get them off your mind for a week for your mental health, please. But if you want to come out, you want to see your boy, you want to see the AFC East Roundtable, we will be live in Miami. Saturday, we have a meet and greet at an ale house. Sunday, we have our event live in Miami for Jets and Dolphins. Really cool stuff happening there. Big event. If you go to the AFC East Roundtable description box, there is a link there where you can buy the tickets. There are still like 20-some tickets left. So if you want to fly out to Miami, come meet the AFC East Roundtable. Have a good weekend in this upcoming week for the Patriots bye week. Make sure you guys do that. Go ahead, buddy.
DeAndre, whatever. I posted the link inside. I'm gonna see if I can get Colby sponsored by Fanatics. I'm gonna go and put him in the right. I guess help him figure that out, so y'all can have like jerseys that are gonna be at discounts for Fanatics. So yeah, exactly. I'll send it to you after this, man. But guys, if you want to go look, someone brought it up in the chat. I posted the link in the chat. If not, go follow my Patriots page, and I will literally. I'll send you the link. I'm sponsored by Fanatics.
Yeah, so like put in like the description, or not the description box, but like the comments. So I put it in there after the show.
I'll post it again. And then
we'll just have it right there for you guys. If you guys are interested, it's the holiday season, so things are discounted right now. Get a little bit of an extra discount while you're at it too. But make sure you guys check out Rob on Instagram at Patriot7. Right there is his handle. So it says Rob and then Patriot7. Right. Dude, I know it's like backwards. So Rob and then like Patriot7, that Patriot7 is his handle on Instagram. That's Patriots and Boston sports related content out there. We appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like on this video on your way out. It supports us massively. Subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. But until next time, I'll have you guys with some content later this week. But of course, go Pats.
Go Pats.